Alright, take 3. Alright, this is going to be, unless my phone cuts itself off again, a video about untangling our entanglements, ironically. Alright, so, first off, the strongest cognitive function is your 7th function. It's called the trickster function, or the path of least resistance function. Where people get confused is that in calling it the trickster, it's really like a magician. Not like or think of like the movie Now You See Me. Depending on, how you look at the morality of, what they did, they saw something or, experienced or, worked on their craft enough to be able to create these illusions where they could stay like a step ahead. And, Jesse Eisenberg's character was like, the first step is being like the smartest person in the room. But in this sense, this is kind of what I'm talking about. Not necessarily the smartest person in the room overall, but in the sense of what you're making your, illusions, so to speak, from. Yeah, where that's coming from. Everyone has, this ability where they're able to kind of see a step ahead because in one way or another they've seen it or experienced it or they worked on it longer. And I think the way most people are going to be able to relate to this now, because we're in a very like Capricorn-like time, is the aspect of, working on it the longest. If you've, put the most work in on something to be able to, say like you're, considered like world class at something, you're at like the pinnacle, you're, at the top of it, you're the master, the guru, the, like champion, whatever, then people relate that to, okay, this person put the most time into it, that's how they can get there, that's how they can, stay there, because they know how to handle things that come up. And because they've, they have the experience to know what to do. So, in that sense, with untangling all these entanglements, because we have all these ideas, all these people, all these, I've been watching like a lot of videos, there's a lot of good content, and the reason I've been taking my time is I'm trying to do justice to all of it, meet everyone's, where everyone's going with it, and I'm trying to like bring it all into one thing and push it forward as the Aries. So, with that in mind, taking it to Aries, the body, the beginning, it's related to the body, but the body in the sense of if you follow your first impulse, and the people that are able to like get out of situations because they can kind of always escape through them, which would be like the Aries risings, like thinking of like a parkour runner, they can quickly go through obstacles that are in their way because they just can flow with it, and they see and feel what the right thing is to do, and they just follow that, and then they're able to get through it. In my case, it's I'm being seen as the Taurus rising because I'm actually what those people look like, or what they're like what's given credit to them as being they're super in touch with their body, and super like athletic, or super like just able to know what to do automatically somehow. And what ends up happening is, it's seen as the trickster function, because if you're the magician, you've set the stage. You don't just do the trick real quick and then, that's the end of it. Like, what ends up happening is there's the buildup of the whole thing, and then you realize at the end, there's like the, wow, how did they do that? But they didn't make that up at that moment. Like, you get what I mean? They had to be ahead of the game to be able to arrange the whole situation to where they could do stage something to where you could have that feeling of seeing something you've never seen before. So, and that's kind of what it is with the Taurus, is they have the, vision of the, action they're going to do, and then they have to create this whole, way, this whole presentation, and so much so that they don't get credit for it, because involved in this setting of the stage are the characters. For instance, the personalities, which would also relate to Aries. But it's done in a very, from our perspective, it's not done in an in-depth way like the other people would be doing it. It's in a first, like, kind of what you would say is like the shallow-ish, but really it's like, getting that quick snapshot, if you want to call it that, of that thing that people are doing, and it's like, oh, that's the type that person is. And then us seeming like we're thinking it over, and it being like slow or whatever, is us having to figure out how to present the vision we already had to someone that doesn't see it, because they're not always marching forward. They're usually part of the crew, or part of, like, they're doing a different aspect. They have a different gift. They're maybe calling attention to something that's going on, which would be like, the Virgos, or, they're in a whole different part of it. So, but just as far as, getting everything there to, like, allow it to happen, it's, the Taurus rising. And another way you could look at it would be, for instance, like, you might just see it as like the person with all the money, but that's another thing I'm trying to get at here, is it's not about money all the time. It's about something you can rely on. It's about something that isn't going to change. It's about something that's going to concretely stay there. And then that's how the Capricorns, for instance, get the position they get, is because they have Taurus in their 5th house. They are creating these foundations. And even just me saying that, you can hear the Capricorn, like, creating a foundation, like a, corporation, like something like that. And that's how, this happens. Another thing, how do, Capricorn risings stay at the top real quick? I don't want to make it entirely about Capricorns, because that's not how I went with it when I originally made the video. My main thing I'm trying to get to here is getting back to the body. But there was one other side note that I made about it, of how, for instance, like a Capricorn rising, like, that ends up getting the credit for being at the top, that has the experience, and sees the right way, and sees the big picture, basically. They have Leo in their 8th house, so they see the tactics that go into games. So, for instance, that might be like, a Capricorn. I mean, that's why they might be the head or appear that way of like something that has to do with the entertainment industry, like games or any kind of music or anything fun really or entertainment wise. Like they're going to see the tactics or the kind of negative situations that come up from that, and then be able to construct, create that foundation for all those things to be able to flourish and thrive and all that. And then that's like the positive aspect of it. But yeah, not going to go super deep into that. My main thing I'm trying to get to is how, for instance, that extroverted sensing for an INTP, it's the whole archetype is created from you breaking down and giving a physical example of what's happening in these different areas of life, or through these different functions, what it looks like upon the first impression. But upon the first impression, just like that setting up of the stage is not what's really happening. That's part of the, getting people involved to begin with. So, what's really going on, like for instance with an INTP, is they are really, think about what they actually do. They observe. They're in the background. They really, like, they experience it. They, like, see everything that's going on. They listen to it, hear it. And then you give them the type or the archetype of, like, them being scattered and with the NE and not taking over the introverted sensing because they don't catch all the details. And when really they're seeing so much of everything that it's overloading and overwhelming, to where the only way that you can talk about it is in a scattered way because there's so much. And then just expressing it becomes a lot and seems that way, like it's all over the place because there's so much to each thing. Just like what may be happening here. And I'm going to, give you a moment then to... All right. Give myself a moment as well. So, what I've discovered is that the way that it all can connect, and the way you can kind of bridge and work on the functions that you think you're not good at, or the different areas of things, is through that seventh function, because it's actually where the rest of all of it derives from. So, like for instance, as an INTP, which Jesse Eisenberg is one as well, and he's not a Taurus rising, I don't think, but I am. But what would be the case with me would be, because of the Aries, Mars, in astrological terminology, Mars is the, ruler of Aries, meaning that you can just think of it as like, you have like a little chart, like a little, thought web type chart deal. And let me stop it to make sure the whole video doesn't get deleted again.